Something bugging you? Come on in. Let's go for a drive. All right. Well, Alan, thanks for joining me again for another question on what's bugging you.
Okay. Yeah. What is bugging you, or
all
other
right.
people?
Or
what's bugging Roscoe?
What's bugging all of us, really? Is that here's a question that's bugging lots of my students, and I'll tell you this severely bugged me as junior, senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
When I realized I was a Christian,
Yeah.
because I didn't really know any better. Like I was born into it. Like that's what mom and dad told me to believe.
Sure.
And so that's just what I was. And this raised further questions as I considered, well, if I'm a Christian because I was born into it, I'm pretty sure that people of other religious persuasions are that way because they were born into it. If I was born into a Muslim culture, for example, I would most likely be a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, how then is it fair, since Christians believe, well, other religions, Muslims, let's run with that example, go to hell, and Christians get to go to heaven? How is this possibly fair from God's perspective, that people go to hell just because they were born into it?
Yeah, well, man, there's a lot of things there. I mean, to talk about. I mean, first of all, there's the question of what is the nature of the gospel. So that's a relevant thing. But let me back up before we hit that, because this idea that, well, yeah, if you're born, I mean, let's just say it's true that if you're born in the States, you're more likely to probably adopt Christianity.
Right.
And if I was born in the Middle East, for example, and I am Middle Eastern, but if I was born there and lived there and grew up there, it's far more likely that I would have grown up as a Muslim.
Yeah, right. There are certainly exceptions to that, but primarily,
yeah.
Okay.
But let's just say that's true, and let's grant that for the sake of argument. Here's my question: what follows logically from that sociological observation? Like, does that mean that Christianity is true or false? No. Does it mean that Islam is true or false? No. Because just because you're born in America and you now are a Christian doesn't mean that Christianity isn't true or false. Like, in other words, how you came to believe in Christianity is not relevant to the question, are there good reasons to trust that Christianity is true?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And just because you're born in the Middle East and you maybe adopt Islam doesn't mean that that Islam is true or false either. Like, there might be good reason to believe that Islam is true or false. So this is, in other words, what I'm trying to get at is what we would call in philosophy or logic the genetic fallacy. Mm-hmm. And the genetic fallacy is where you confuse the origins of someone's belief with the reasons as to why they believe what they believe.
Okay.
So it's called genetic fallacy because it's the genesis of the belief, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, it could be that the genesis of my belief as a Christian is because I grew up in America. But that doesn't mean I don't have good reasons as to why Christianity is true. Mm-hmm. And to dismiss my trust in Christianity as being true as simply, oh, that's just because you were born in America, is to commit the genetic fallacy. It's a mistake in thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I think even C.S. Lewis brings this point up. He says, you have to show that a person is mistaken before you can explain why they are mistaken. In other words, you have to first demonstrate that they're mistaken, that their views are incorrect, before you can then ask the sociological question, how do they come to those mistaken beliefs?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And again, this just goes back to the genetic fallacy. It's basically confusing motivation with justification.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
What motivates you to come to a certain belief is not the same thing as what gives you good justification for thinking those beliefs are true.
So you're saying it's important in some way to have reasons for believing what you do. Seems like that would flow from this, because it needs to be based on whether it's true or not. At some point, that questioning ought to happen. Is that involved here? Like,
yes, absolutely. But it's more about, you can't dismiss a person's belief based on how they came to that belief.
Okay.
So, take for example, here's another way to look at it. Imagine that before I was a Christian, I struggled with drug addiction and substance abuse and whatever. And so I was sick in my heart and I was just addicted. And the reason why I came to Christ was because Christ gave me the strength to overcome those things. And I put my trust in Christ, and he gave me the strength to overcome them. Okay? So that's how I came to Christianity. Okay? That I was sick in my heart, and I needed a crutch.
Yeah.
And God was my crutch. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that I don't have now also good reasons as to why Christianity is true? Right? No, the evidence for Christianity is independent of the reason or the way in which I came to believe in Christianity, right? There's the Kalam cosmological argument. There's evidence for God's existence. There's evidence for the resurrection. There's evidence for God's existence from morality and all these different things, right? So those are all independent of how it is I came to believe in Christianity. And so just because I came to believe in Christianity a certain way, you can't dismiss my faith in Christianity based upon that root that I came to believe.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. No, that's good.
And in fact, if that was legitimate, you could actually reverse it against the atheist. Like I could say, well, the only reason you're an atheist is because you were born in Albania.
Sure.
And Albania was the first country to declare itself by virtue of its constitution as an atheist country. And so, yeah, of course you're an atheist because you're born in Albania. So I'm basically dismissing any logic or evidential reasons as to why you're an atheist because of the fact you were born in Albania.
Yeah.
And no atheist would stand for that. They'd be like, no, I have good reasons. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I agree. You might have good reasons.
Yeah.
So we should talk about that and not trying to dismiss my Christianity simply because I'm born in America.
Yeah. But, okay, all this being said, that makes sense. But is it still not the case that, at least it seems kind of weird, that God would send people to hell for not being a Christian?
Well, okay, yeah. So that goes back to the first thing I said, which was there's a mistaken, or not a mistaken presumption, but it's a lack of understanding what really is the gospel about. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I guess that does seem unfair. Why would God send someone, to hell? Well, why does anybody go to hell? Is the first question that needs to be asked. And the reason is because every single person on earth that's ever been born, except for Christ, has committed crimes against God and deserves to be punished for those crimes. That is the state of every human being.
Yeah.
So the reality is that every human being, whether they're born in America or Albania or Saudi Arabia or Zimbabwe or Morocco, is guilty of crimes they've committed against God and deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
And because we live in God's jurisdiction, he's the one who decides, what the laws are and what punishment we're going to get.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's an eternal quarantine, better known as hell. And so that's the state of everybody. So the question isn't, well, why is it Americans get to go to heaven? Oh, that's a mistake to think of. Right. It's really everyone's going to hell. Yeah. The next question is, how do you avoid that predicament?
So sometimes I ask students this question, and it's kind of provocative. I'd like to hear how you answer it. Do people go to hell because they don't believe in Jesus?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so I actually, and I know this maybe my answer is provocative, and maybe we're thinking the same way here, but my answer is no. They don't go to. No one's going to hell because they don't believe in Jesus.
Yeah, I agree.
They're going to hell because they've committed crimes against God. In other words, no one's going to jail because they don't have a good lawyer. They're going to jail because they committed a crime. They stole a car, they murdered someone, whatever it might be, and because they've committed a crime and have been rendered guilty, that's what's causing them to go to jail.
Good. Yeah. And sometimes I relate it to you're dying of a deadly disease. You choose not to go to the doctor. Do you die because you didn't go to the doctor? Now, sometimes we use our language that way, but that's not the formal cause of your death. Right. It's the cancer the deadly disease. That's right. Okay.
You're going to hell because you've committed crimes. Now, does it help to have a good lawyer? Yes. And in the case of the nature of reality, we have Jesus, right? Who is our priest, prophet, and king, right? Who petitions on our behalf to God, right? And so this goes back to the second half of what I was going to say, which is the nature of the gospel, and that is, look, as I said, the current state is everyone on earth deserves to go to hell and is going to hell. Now, because God made us, he is our maker, he also loves what he made. He loves his creation, and he doesn't want us to be punished.
Yeah.
So he's got a plan. He's got an opportunity. He's offering us a pardon. And since God is the one who's in charge, he's the one who decides the terms of the pardon.
Yeah. But isn't that kind of crazy that he would even offer a pardon?
Well, I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like,
if that first part were true,
right?
That we've done evil, we've gone against God, and if God is completely holy and just, it seems like he ought to get rid of evil.
Well, it's true. And he is going to get rid of evil. Yes, that's right.
But that means he ought to get rid of us too if we've done evil. Okay.
That's right. So, yeah. So he's in charge. He gets to decide the terms of the pardon. And here's the terms of the pardon. Right? He says, look, you're toast. You're going to be punished, but I will make a way where instead of punishing you, I'll punish Jesus. Now, and he can take the heat for your crimes. Now, the only way that works is you have to turn over the ownership of your life entirely over to God. Mm-hmm. Now, you can accept the terms of that pardon and go free, or you can pay for the crimes yourself.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
So God's made a way for us to be pardoned, and because he's our maker and loves us, he's offering us this pardon. Now, anyone can accept the pardon, whether you're in America or Zimbabwe or Saudi Arabia or Morocco or whatever.
Yeah.
So that pardon is made available to any human being. So again, the real question isn't God unfair or unjust for sending people to hell. It's how can a good God allow someone as evil like us get into heaven? I mean, that's really the amazing question to ask.
It really is.
And that's just because, he made us and he loves us. And he recognizes that we've done wrong, but he also wants to give us a chance to be pardoned for those crimes.
That's incredible.
And that's why it's good news.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, that was extremely helpful. Thank you for that. Hopefully it settled the bugs in us if it's a question that's bugging us.
Squash those bugs.
The bug.
That's right.
That's a good. Not you.
Not you. Roscoe. Hey, don't be.
We got to be careful about that.
Yeah, he is sensitive.
It's all right, dude. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks again so much for your time.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for the ride, Roscoe. See you next time.